Where'd Bernard go?
Here it is.
Okay, let's get started.
Status or something.
Adequate notice that the meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, and date SA 10:4-6, published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10, 2017, revised by email on August 25, 2017.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Coles?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Here.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Here.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Here.
Committeeman Delia?
Here.
We're all here. All right, we're going to go into executive session for one item. Should only take a couple of minutes, so please don't wander far. So can I have a motion for executive session?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's go into executive.
If you're going in except for one item, how much could you tell us about this one item, about what it is?
When you come back in, I'll tell you. It's got to do with contract negotiation to obtain money for affordable housing.
Thank you. Yeah. Because they're just doing 1 minute,
What is that?
I'm just going to put
Thank you very much.
this over here. Then executive now, they said for 1 minute, one item actually.
What's your name?
Ben Lichtman.
Ben?
Lichtman.
Okay,
And you?
my shoes.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the summer. I mean, I was here, but I just couldn't come to these meetings. Now
How am
we're
I doing this? Need a
back
clip.
in the November.
Let's do it like this. Okay.
See, at the Strand, they charge for their shows. Over here, it's free. right, Plymouth? The parking is free, the shows are free. There's food and drinks.
What kind of food? Is there flations?
There is, when the meeting starts at 6, that's good news, because it's 5:30, whatever. Yossi delivers something, yeah.
Cool.
They take good care. They serve platters, so there's. they
It's
have
recording,
wraps.
so be careful what you're saying.
Well, it's very good that you did last time. You put both meetings into one. That was
It's
very
better
good.
that way?
Yeah. Yeah. I think more people would watch it because then they're forced to at least skip through it.
Where do you post it?
YouTube First Amendment activist.
That's your channel?
Over like 600 subscribers.
I'm one of them.
Yeah?
That's right.
All right.
He had me on there one day, so I got to subscribe.
Oh.
Maybe like, you know,
Nice one.
being unfaithful to the man or something. You know? Right, Mr. Klein? Hey, by the way, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
After a certain time, like the old videos, did they delete automatically, or do you keep
No.
them? So you have to have one.
Whatever goes up stays up. Which one are you talking about?
Remember when it was packed full of for the busing thing? That,
Yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah.
done
Still
the
on.
translating. Okay.
Still on.
You remember what month that was?
When you look at go through the video, what was it, committee?
Yeah.
So you can look through the committee, there's a playlist.
Okay.
So look in that playlist, you'll see there's a lot of Hispanic people standing by the podium.
Right, look by the one that has the screenshot where there's a
Yeah.
lot of people
Okay.
up
Yeah.
there, right?
That was crazy, man. I was so nervous. You remember? Was you?
Yeah, you were translating them.
Everybody the next day, hey, you did a good job. I feel like the mayor walking around here.
You know what?
Who's in there? Is that Klein, David Klein, the first guy?
Yeah, what is he? It's something with a Jersey hand. What is it?
He's the LDC, Lakewood Development Corporation.
Mr. Klein,
Yes?
want to hear something from me?
Yes.
Can you record it?
Camera, yeah, why? No, it's not a thing that could be in camera? Okay. Go check it out.
David Klein's the lawyer.
He works, he runs the Lakewood Development Corporation.
What did they do? Like what condos they do?
No, I mean, he may have something to do with MJ Hand, I don't know. Well, I can tell you what he does for Lakewood Development Corporation. He does, Lakewood Development Corporation, they get state money. They get state grants for basically the sales tax. So they're going to the state for some parts of town, goes to this Lakewood Development Corporation, and they are supposed to use that money to fund good things in town. So if a guy starts up a new business and he wants money for advertising for a while, he's now established for a while, what you would do is you would pay to design your ads, so you would make nice ads, and you would pay for some of the advertising, and then they would kick in $5,000 per quarter for you to place your ads. So you have an incentive to spend your own money for something that you'll think will work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not just saying, here's $5,000, go below it.
Mhm.
You're paying to the design your ads, so you're gonna make a nice ad, because you want to be able to place it all around, whatever. So they use those grants to give out to guys. They also did micro loans for like 6 months or for a year, about $3,500 to $4,000 per each state. A lot of people in town did that, they used their loans.
We're back at home, this is door open, like the public side. Thank you. Well respected guy. And I think the fees are reasonable.
Over the years.
Mr. Klein, to answer your question, the state requires every commercial CO that's issued in town for the developer to pay the state 2.5% of the money of the project for an affordable housing fund. In the past, that money went directly to the state. We talked about hiring an attorney and a planner to prepare an application so that that money could be retained by the township to be used for handicap accessibility in some houses and affordable housing as well. So,
Thank you.
Tom, it's all yours.
Okay, light blue folder, everybody. Number one is, every year I have to fill out a form from the state called best practices. And for years, they would give you an opportunity to,
This light blue folder?
yes, light blue. They would give you an opportunity for several years to conform to what they want you to do. Now, what they do is they give you something in 1 year, and you're working on fixing it, and the following year, they give you something totally different. So you can never catch up. So that's why I'm trying to push you a couple of things tonight. The first is we need to discuss all of our authorities, and it can be a brief discussion, but it has to be minutes taken. That's why I had to bring it to everybody's attention, because it's one of the checklists on the best practices. So I'll start with the LTRAP. Is everything running smoothly with the LTRAP?
As far as I know, they get high marks every time HUD comes in and does an audit. I don't get any complaints from people about the voucher situation there, so as far as I can tell, it has been and continues to run very well, and is highly regarded by HUD to do their annual reports.
Second one would be the MUA.
I'm a little biased because I'm a commissioner. Steve, can I talk on it?
Sure.
The MUA, again, it's a very healthy authority. They've been investing a lot of money in infrastructure, water treatment and whatnot in order to be able to keep up to date and make sure the water supply stays clean. They're the second or third lowest cost for water, I believe, in this part of the state, if not the entire state. And again, it's financially healthy. Its last audit was clean. And it's doing very well.
The next would be the LDC.
Development Corporation, again, it's doing well. The problem with Development Corporation is the fact that the urban enterprise zone was not reauthorized by Governor Christie, which means there's no additional funding coming. Right now, the LDC is not using taxpayer funds. It's using the remainder of the money that was granted to it by the state several years ago from the 3.5% sales tax that was held in escrow while the whole program was debated. There's hope that whoever the new governor is will reauthorize the program, which means that the 3.5% sales tax that's currently collected by participating businesses will then be returned to the township to be used for economic development. Right now, it's being retained by the state. If the UEZ is not reauthorized, then the money that the Development Corporation is running off of will be depleted in a year or so, and we most likely will have to dissolve the Development Corporation and fold it into the Industrial Commission.
And last is the Housing Authority.
Again, Housing Authority, it's a very healthy authority. Gets very high marks from the federal government when they come in to do their audits. The public housing is shrinking a little bit, but that's by design of the federal government. The old JFK apartments were sold off to community investment strategies. I believe the ribbon cutting for the completely renovated apartments will be in a couple of weeks. But the authority currently administers different vouchers, as well as the Curry Building, Lulu Duffy Apartments, and Peterborough Towers.
And one more thing, on tonight's agenda downstairs, one of the ordinance introductions deals with the tax office that we have to have in some type of procedure where the assessor, once he gets all of the appeals, he lets us know what they are along with the CFO, and it's something that came in the best practices that we have to do. So
That's the first reading tonight.
That'll be first reading tonight.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have on that.
All right, before we go to park property, Somerset Avenue. A couple of months ago, the county repaved County Line Road and put in a turning lane, which is something that we have been asking them to do for a long time. At the same time, they took it upon themselves to add a turning lane to Somerset, which turned the 2 lanes into 3 lanes and eliminated all the on-street parking for the residents along there. It's been a big problem for them. It's actually created issues with traffic now that wasn't there before. It's also very difficult for school buses to turn in there now because they're having to turn into what was 3 lanes, is now 2 lanes, is now 3. So there's really no place for them to turn. I requested the county allow us to go back to the previous layout, which is basically just 2 lanes with the divider down the middle. They met today with the engineer as well as some of the residents out there. They said that they like the way it looks now, but if the township wants it put back, we need to pass a resolution telling them that we want it restored to what it was and absolving them from any liability. So I'm asking the township tonight, I'll do it downstairs, to motion a resolution that we send to the county, asking them to return Somerset to its previous layout.
Well, you make that resolution before you make it downstairs.
All right.
So-
So we have to get in touch with Stager to find out what the old format was.
It simply was just double yellow down the middle.
We'll contact Jeff and get it done.
Jeff, he knows it inside, I've been on his back about
I
this.
just need to know how to word the resolution, so I need to know what was before and what it
All right,
is
so
now.
hopefully we'll have that.
All right.
Okay. All right, Tom, back to park discussion.
All right, we contacted one of the property owners in the, we're looking for a piece of property in order to have a full block for parks. And he needs a little more time now because now he has to look into, see what we deed restricted for the PIA, so he's going to, Marty Truscott sending him information that he can review to see that the properties that he wants to make a deal with the township for are not on the deed restriction. So it's going to take another, September 14th, I should bring back something on that.
All right. In the meantime, what do we need to do to prepare the rest of that entire block? Because if this does fall through, I still want to put the park there.
Well, the whole, we can just designate it as a park area.
Okay, let's start the process for that, and hopefully we can include this last line in this. And we also checked with Ed Seeger. We had talked about putting together a much larger park, a little bit west of this. I'd really like to get moving on that as well. I know we had talked about assembling larger areas than we currently have, so I'd like to see.
Or what area that we're looking at. Okay, I'm happy.
I'd like to be able to.
I'm put together with the names of the individuals that own the lots and what he deemed would be a good transfer. Right?
So I want Klein Park to be on the books soon.
Okay.
I prospected. Okay.
All right, Katie, you want to handle the next one, food truck?
Okay. The township has 7 kosher vendor food truck licenses and 7 non-kosher vendor food truck licenses. All of the non-kosher vendor food truck licenses are in use. We have a list of approximately 35 people waiting for new food truck licenses. I had a gentleman come in who already has a plan set in place. He wants to jump the line. I told him no, but he insisted that I bring it to committee and get a decision as to whether or not we would allow him to bypass the 35 other people already on the list and issue him a food truck license.
Let me ask.
We don't even have an open one, so I don't know, we would have to create another one.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this, I'm surprised.
No. I talked to Tom, Tom said we could just bring it.
Well, is there a limitation in the ordinance as to how many food truck licenses we can give?
Well, how many we have right now, we would have to change the ordinance
That's
to
what I'm
increase the
talking
number,
Right, we
yes.
maxed it out to 7 and 7. 7 non-kosher, 7 kosher.
We do have empty kosher,
Constitutional question.
we do have empty kosher licenses, we only
made
have
that-
2
we
that
made
are in
that-
use.
We created that.
How many do we have open?
We have 5 kosher, that's it.
Well, I recommend, based on what Katie
Percent?
says, that you not jump over them because you're inviting a lawsuit.
But we already give special treatment to veterans, so they get
You
to
have
move
to
to the
by
front
law.
of the line, right? So I think people on the list have been there for a number of years, and if you allow somebody to jump them, it could be a problem.
Well,
Through the chair, how many do we have? 10?
7.
7?
14 altogether, 7.
14, 7, 7.
My
They want me to
question
increase
is,
the
I
number
thought
and
a
let him
food
have
truck
one.
was a mobile business that would travel around. This seems to me he wants to locate at one specific place. I think the ordinance speaks to the
But he
fact
wants to
that.
sell out of the food truck. It's not like a structure, it's,
Right, I understand, but that's what I'm saying. I'd have to, it's been years since we did this ordinance, but I thought that the food truck ordinance meant that those trucks had to be mobile, that they had to move from place to place, that they weren't supposed to be in one place for more than a certain period of time.
right, and he wants to park in a gas station,
Right. so he
which
wants-
is gonna create huge amounts of traffic problems going in and out of there. Right. But-
Well, so he wants to jump the line, he wants a license that's not there, and he wants to use the.
Well,
use the
I
food
want
truck.
to, I'd like to find out if the ordinance speaks to how long they can remain in one place. 'Cause I thought that people had complained in the past about them parking and staying there
And we have
close
certain
by
areas that
restaurants,
Correct.
and that was why we said that they had to continue to move.
I was
The
gonna do
ordinance
something
speaks
else.
to it, and they are
Had
not
himself a
allowed to
trailer.
stay stationary. They're supposed to move.
How often?
And we have areas that, like, they're not allowed to be on Route 70, they're not allowed to be on, but they can't stay stationary in one spot for, I think it's more than 2 weeks.
And they're gonna be on Route 9,
2 weeks?
No,
so this is, what's 1509 River Avenue? Where he wants to do it.
he said,
Isn't that on Route 9?
right, but he's, what
River
he's saying,
Avenue's
he's in the parking lot of the gas station,
Which is on Route 9.
which is on Route 9.
That's,
I'm not in favor of that.
You can't let them jump. Can I ask,
Right.
why are we
Can I make-
discussing this if we're not going to
because the
jump?
gentleman insisted that Katie bring it to the committee.
Okay, but I mean, we're not going to jump it. If the committee would like to talk about increasing it, I'm open to
Can I
that.
make a suggestion on that? Perhaps Katie perhaps Katie's office could purge the list that's there now. You have 35 people online. Every once in a while, maybe send out letters to people and just say,
You're still
there's no indication, but we'd like to keep our list updated. You have a number, if you're still interested, get back to us by this and this time. And, if that 35 number goes down to 2, maybe this is a relative discussion. If that 35 number stays at 30, then maybe it's not.
Good idea.
But this is indicating that he intends to be there permanently,
But which is
against
also a
another
separate
knock on
issue.
the ordinance, so.
Right, which is a separate issue, but I'm saying, maybe we don't even, some of those applications could be 5 years old.
Right, the list has been ongoing for probably the last 5 years. at
Wouldn't
least.
I
it
think
be a bad
all
idea
those
to
lists, I know
purge
the housing authority does that, they have 6,000 people on the list.
You purge it
Once a
once.
year, they send it out, and they usually knock off several hundred, so.
Okay. I can send out
I think we should
letters.
try and see if we can automate that
But you have to
process.
be careful, you might want to use the housing authority language, if I may. Excuse me, about which place you hold them on. In other words, the way the line is now is when the request was received. But if, let's say, Ray was number 3 and I'm number 5, and now on the return, I answer before him, it doesn't mean I skip him, it just means that you hold your place and then you pull out all the people who didn't answer and
Right,
condense.
and you may move up.
Right, that's what I
People
would say.
dropped out,
If
but-
people are
right.
no longer interested, you will move up in priority.
You have to do a certain date, you know, by this and this time, you have to let us know. And
So I would send out 2 notices and then purge them,
Okay.
in 30 days.
Well, I know that one gentleman has taken himself off the list, and whether he did it with you or not, I don't.
Well, we need to follow up. I think
I think
it's
it's a
good
good
practice
idea.
to do it anyway.
I think it's a good idea.
So
Next
for
year,
this,
we just take best practices, so we'll have to do it anyway.
so for this individual, we're going to tell him, no, we
No,
can't put
right.
a line.
I would say, 1, we're not going to break the line. 2, I want you to look at the ordinance first and tell them that, you know, a permanent, stationary food truck is not considered, is not allowable. So he's got a couple of strikes against it.
All right, we'll take care of it.
Well,
We're going back to
I
Mike's
know
question.
of a couple of, I know of a couple of food trucks that are stationary here. Is a veteran allowed to be stationary?
I'd have to go back and see, I'll have to review the
You got a
ordinance.
food truck, I know at least one in industrial
They're
park
not
is
supposed to be
stationary.
there, and I think it's like 2-week period, but they're supposed to move around. That's the whole point of a mobile food truck.
Okay.
I mean, if it's something, we would have to revisit the ordinance and allow for stations. I know in Bricktown, the empanada guy parks at the ice rink.
All the time.
Yeah, until he gets a call to go to a show or something, and he leaves.
Well, the
Yeah,
taco
because
truck,
we,
I know, moves
food
around all
laws.
the time.
Yeah.
Because we see,
That's what
we
they're
see them out
supposed to
here
do.
sometimes, they move around
There's a
all the
woman in
time.
the industrial park, I mean, for 27 years, she's been driving that big white truck and stopping over businesses, which is the way it's supposed to be.
Veterans have to get, if you're a veteran, you get a peddler's license.
Right.
So I don't know what a peddler is.
I think they can stay there.
So
I thought a peddler was a door-to-door.
Yeah.
When
No,
you
but
sell
I got
things
a
door to
peddler's
door.
license once, believe it or not.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because a mercantile, like, it's
Fall
like
down lately?
I'm not going.
vendor license.
Well, peddler
you
can
know
be
what I'm saying?
stationary, it just means you're just selling a product not out of the store.
Okay.
So let me check, I'll check the veterans thing and I'll check.
Yeah, look into that. If we need to revise the ordinance, we can think about it, but
Yeah, all right.
No, for now.
all right, Tom, New Jersey Transit?
Yes, I'm bringing this back because, you know, we're getting the buses back on route, and,
Thank you, Tom.
but we want to give 2 back, because we have 2 internationals that just are so beat up, it's not worth keeping. And we want to keep the 4 Freightliners, because this way, we'll have 3 buses running, we'll have 1 in reserve. But the other 2 are just.
I asked Pat to get me numbers on what was wrong and what we could fix them. He said that he would have them for tonight. I guess he can get them to you?
I may have them in the office when we go look. I didn't, you know,
What is it? Anything I can help you?
no.
All right, what's the feeling on it, guys? Is it something you want to consider?
What's the cost? I would love to know the cost, Mayor. The 2 buses that we got from a grant that we could use.
All right, bring it back on the next meeting, and we'll
Okay.
get the numbers, and we'll decide then.
Okay.
I'll start back the whole line. Because they will cost a fortune to repair, but they're not maintained, or taken care of, and beat up. Could be talking tens of thousands of dollars to put them back into shape. That's why I had Pat to get the numbers, and we'll have that for the next meeting, we'll know for sure.
What's going?
Next one is the maroon folder. And there are proper requests on there
For some. Okey dokey. Yes, sir.
Yes, the maroon folders, everybody?
Yeah.
All right, we have property, block 1042, lot 8, from the office of Marion Weinstein. Everybody take a look at that.
Who owns the property around it, because it's a non-conforming lot?
This guy.
Only him?
And I think we're the,
She said owns it in Beaver.
yeah, Alex says, most likely the parcels on either side of subject property and by his deeds, minus one dollar.
Oh, jeez.
Weren't we supposed to use some of those streets for parks and is this, to me, it looks like I may be wrong, is this in the Oak Street Corp?
Yes.
Weren't we supposed to use some of this stuff for parks and greenways, and we're gonna vacate some streets and open the other streets and put a park and a basin? Wasn't that all part of the plan? Are we sure that this is not one of those?
You're right, because no, I don't know if this is one of those, but I think some of the parks were ditched at some point.
Ditched?
Yeah.
Meaning what? They were dropped?
and this is a 20-foot lot, just a little
Nothing you can really do with it.
You were talking about the parks where the street vacations.
Right.
That's what they were gonna turn them into.
Right.
This
So if
is,
there are no parks, 4,000 square feet of open space.
This is 4,000 square feet of open space?
Yeah, no, it says here.
It's 20 by 100.
Oh, you're right.
It's an undersized lot.
It's 2,000 square feet.
Who wants to make the purchase?
It says
They don't-
client, CC client.
No, they want to
I
buy.
don't mean that, I mean the little lot to the, as you're looking at the right of it,
Bruce Properties, block 1042, lot 7.
it looks like, there's a lot of lots. There's several on that street that don't look like they're conforming.
That's what I'm saying. But for some reason, I thought there was something supposed to happen with some of those.
You want to research it, we'll bring it back?
I mean, it's an undersized lot. At best, it has to go for a public-private sale, right?
I was there between
The adjoining property
And the
owners.
three adjoining
Yeah.
property owners.
That's what Leeds is involved in, so
Hold on one
that's.
second, but didn't the Oak Street Corps get all the, in other words, what do you do with the extra property? You go for more approvals? What do you physically do with it? Just a bigger lot for somebody to live in? You understand what I'm asking?
According to the letter, it's the guy, I'm assuming to the right, has an undersized lot. In order to get it, he'd have to go for a huge variance. But if we sell this to him, then it'll make the lot conforming, and we won't need to get the variance.
Yeah, and one of the things they do with zoning board is they ask the neighbors if they can buy more land on either side to get rid of the nonconformity or lessen the.
So when we heard that number of, I think it was 300 or whatever that number was in the Oak Street Corps, was for lots, not for houses. And then you have to go physically get permission to build a house, there's that, and then you come in. That was that ordinance that we did, that you could go.
It's
to the
also a
planning
contract
board.
purchaser, guys.
I'm confused for a second. Howard, do you remember?
Yeah, but this is a 20-foot, this wouldn't have been counted for anything, I don't think. It was
I
20 foot.
understand.
Yeah.
But
Let
there's a
me
lot
ask
next
a
to it.
question. Contract purchaser, are they allowed to bid on this lot if they don't own the property yet?
Well, the owner can.
We've allowed that in the past.
What if they don't end up buying that?
When they close it, they gotta close it together and make it into one
Right,
lot.
right.
I have a question. The Oak Street Corps, I'm just trying to refresh my memory because so much went on with it. There were a bunch of lots in there that there were township streets that we're talking about vacating so that it fit into the grid system, and some of it would be parks and some of it would be basins and all that kind of stuff, right? That's one thing. And wasn't there a certain amount, there was a certain number of lots that were granted for that, am I correct?
There were a certain number of lots that were utilized to get a count on how many units would be in there.
Okay, so was this 4,000 square foot lot one of those lots? If it was, then it would make sense for us to have a bigger lot, that's what I'm saying. Or was it not, and this is a new lot?
This is a 20 by 100, I have no idea what they can.
The
They
lot
probably
that it's
did
going to
count.
be joining to.
Or the one it's being,
One that's being purchased by per client, not our contract.
Well, if we're not sure, should we go back to engineering for further review?
I want to tell you why, because even if, listen, we all know from the zoning board, something called a buy-sell letter.
That's what,
That's what he's talking about.
Right, so if you have a lot, you have a right to build a house on that lot. Now, it is your job as an owner of the lot to do what you can to make the lot conforming. So if there's a lot next door to it, that you could put the two lots together, one of the first things that a zoning board will ask you is, do you have a buy-sell letter? Did you offer to buy the lot next door? Or did you offer to sell the lot to the person next door? That's what it is. So that now you have a conforming lot. And when I was on the zoning board, who knows how many years ago, people would come in and say, I tried, but then we would have real estate experts saying, oh, this guy wanted $1 million, it doesn't really count, that's not really an acceptance of an offer to buy the lot. So if this 4,000 square foot is approved, that means the owner has a right to build on it. And all we're doing is looking at a little bit of a bigger lot. So then it makes sense. Anybody following that?
Yeah, he has a right to build on it, assuming he meets the zoning.
That's incorrect.
No, what I'm saying is like setbacks and things like that.
No,
Yeah.
no. You have a right, I mean, obviously, you have to meet some setbacks, but you have the zoning board has to give you a bit, you can't, I don't have to tell this to you, right? The zoning board cannot deny a person a right to build on a lot because it's undersized.
Right, assuming they meet certain
you
criteria.
probably, Dolmeyer's the case. Dolmeyer's the case at Lacey Township that Serpentelli decided, that said undersized lots, you do this buy, sell, you gotta present architecturals, you have to comply with the setbacks, or ask for variances from them, but you've gotta show the board that it can work.
That you tried.
I don't know that a 40-footer could get built on, that's the problem, it's so narrow. He needs us to make it a 60-footer, he gets closer to being in conformity, he may not be in
But it says it
conformity yet.
reduces the non-conformance.
I would-
You want
used to have
something
this advantage
investigated
all
about
the
that
time.
lot before you
Yeah,
could
I've
decide.
dealt with it for years as zoning
So,
board
so I
member.
don't know, so then it would make sense, if this is in fact one of those lots, then it makes sense to sell it.
Yeah, it really does for a few reasons. First of all, it's, the value is $27,500, so it's not that much, but it's still money the taxpayer get, puts it on the tax roll, and it makes it easier for them to get their variance.
So as long, through the chair, as long as that lot was one of the lots, in other words, the mother lot, I'll call it, the bigger lot, and as long as this was not designated to be used for a park or a basin or anything along those lines, and they're just gonna put the lot together and build the same
Well, if it was for a
house
basin,
they were gonna anyway.
well, it wouldn't be a basin because they have to put in all the basins, not the township.
So whatever it was,
It
whatever
wouldn't be
the
a-
public uses was, I don't remember exactly what each public use is, but whatever the public uses were, then I would have no problem,
Yeah.
as long as those two criteria are met.
It still has to go back to engineering for investigation, I don't know.
Well,
Well,
so
that was
find out,
already
it's
done.
simple, as long as it was a lot that
We
was not
already
meant to be
Not
used.
the board
We
can
just-
go for this aspect of it.
Just to sell it, though, I mean, we can just move forward if that's what the committee wants to do.
Check with engineering, make sure that mayor's concerns are alleviated, and if there's no red flags that go up, then you can bring it forward for sale at the next meeting. If anything flags on it that mayor brought up, don't bring it back to us
And it's
to
a
discuss
park,
it further.
a park or a
If it
basin.
was, he wants to make sure that it was one of those lots that was discussed, and that it wasn't designated to be anything
The
other
mother,
than.
the big lot, the mother
Big
lot.
lot,
was
not our
one of the
lot.
lots.
He wants to make sure that the block 1042, lot 7, is within the Oak Tree corridor, that it wasn't listed as anything else, and that it is one of those lots that was included in that whole overlay.
Okay.
If that's all met, sure. Only
Question,
because you're the expert on Oak Street.
I spoke 2 hours then by the meeting.
Oh, no. We only have.
No, I'm just mentioning something, is there's no parks in that section of Oak Street corridor, no parks. They were trying to vacate those streets, some of the committee members rejected, I'm also rejecting the vacation because it can be worth, we're not going to go into all that. There's no parks in that whole section. If there is a township property here and there, why shouldn't you reserve it for open space for the neighborhood? It's just a question because people all crying then, we did already ordinance and there's no open
This
space.
is 2,000 square feet. It's nothing.
Please something.
Can't
Makes that a sliding pond of benches.
What?
They're gonna do that.
Not much.
And the problem is, then the neighbor gets a house on 40-foot lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next, number 2 is a letter from Ken Tate pertaining to vacation of some streets.
Oh, this is what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I know.
A
That's what I
second
mean.
ago. I don't know why this keeps coming back to us. Hey, Steve, the guy that I see there's a guy that I do some work for CC'd on this letter, although they're not involved on the street at all anymore. You want me not to say anything on it?
No, you can talk on it. You know the stuff better than I do, or anybody else.
All right, boys, let's hear what you have to say. This, I think, one of the objections that I had raised was the fact that you can't turn a park or vacate a street into a park. And the letter is saying that they'll do a quick claim deed back to the township for it, so
And they'll build the park?
I didn't read that far down.
Well, they're supposed, right, doesn't the Oak Street Court generate money for the building of parks?
It says right here, to be developed at the sole cost and expense of the Oak Street Core Group joint venture. The park
Where is
area is
that,
with
number four?
number 4.
So I would be, this is what I said before, although somebody from the public just said it probably differently, and I don't know what you felt. I felt that if there's a grid of streets that would work, and there's playgrounds that would come into place, that makes sense. That's what we should be doing. What are we saving the street for? In other words, if in fact there is a grid overlay and it looks like, right, you know, city streets, like the downtown, not like this, and there's place for parks, what's the difference if the street moves over this way, the street moves over this way? As long as they're in there and they work in this parks, I would be in favor of it, if you ask me. I think you were the one that was in favor at one point, right?
You understand what's going on here? Neither do I.
Mike, what do you think?
What's that? I'm looking at the map, I'm for the parks, but I just want to make sure that we're not repeating actions in the past of prohibiting access and roadways. And I just see just a portion here, I don't see where this goes.
Well, Mayor, let me make a suggestion. Why don't we have a meeting with, he's a really nice guy, engineering, Tom and I, and we get a better idea what's going on.
Okay. Maybe enough.
Tom, you want to set that up? Because I kind of agree with Mayor's concept, but I don't know that.
As long as the streets that were vacated
I'm fine with
doesn't
that.
take away from the grid.
I think that was the problem that we had last time, was that,
No, I understand what you're saying
like
about
you
that.
said, that it's not, that, how do we know they're gonna turn it into a park, and we couldn't turn it directly into a park, we couldn't restrict it to a park, we have to give it to the property owners and those. If they're willing to do a quick link, then.
That's what I said, engineering.
Yeah, because they haven't weighed in on it.
No, you gotta have engineering.
We have to probably-
We meet with Jeff and
Otherwise,
Ally.
but,
Tom said that.
not right now.
All right, Tom, next.
Yes, sir. Block 490, lot 4, everybody, number
We
3.
should probably be at everything set.
You know who his clients are here?
It's in the office of Adam Pfeffer.
You know who he's representing?
No, it's a small piece of property, though. It's been around for quite a while. And you look in the back, there was the ordinance done back in 2000.
Oh, it says Richard Associates. I see who it is.
Weird shaped lot.
What's the current assessed value?
Current assessed value is $33,200.
Came up with this request for
This
3
piece,
miles ago.
Adam Pfeffer, I think you
Tom,
came.
Steve, and Howard.
You said you requested a year and a half ago.
Are you basically okay with it?
If we put it up for sale once, why wouldn't we put it up for sale again? Nothing changed, right?
I don't even remember.
Last time, well, he's saying that last time we put it up for sale, one of the adjoining property owners were not interested at the price. But now if we put it up for sale, and there is and he says the other guy is interested,
All right, if we're gonna, do we wanna do this, gentlemen?
It doesn't.
Is it
we already said yes to this.
Yeah, but is this the one where we put it up and the one guy didn't bid it and the other guy says, I don't want to pay that much, I'll offer you less, and we said, no, you can't.
Right, what I was gonna say is if we wanna go with this, I wanna find out what we offered it for before. And if it's less than what it's currently assessed at, fine. If it's more than what it's currently assessed at, I wanna put it out for what we asked for last time. Follow what I'm saying?
Well,
You're
last-
saying it's assessed at 33.
Right.
We put it out at 50 before, and they said, no, I don't want to put it out for 33 now. I want to
Why?
put it what we put it out for before.
Why? Then we're just gonna say.
Because that's what we felt it was worth for.
Okay. And
But I'm one vote.
And
You guys
land value
don't-
didn't
No,
go
I don't
down.
agree with that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Land value certainly didn't go down. I'll agree with
And
that.
it's on Cross Street.
I'll agree with that.
All right, so I'll check the corner. I'll have to try to find that.
And, you know, I would not, since the tax assessed value, make sure this is the current assessment.
It is. I said. it
Close
is.
where?
This says from Richard Associates.
Tom, could you just look at the ordinance to see what it was put out for the last time? The amount in 14,
You have it?
in the book, yeah.
Did he attach it with this?
He attached this, the notice, so it makes it easy, because I even know the ordinance number.
Right, the ordinance will have to.
All right, so you let me know about that, Kate?
Yeah?
All right. And then if we're good with that, then put it up for sale?
I didn't hear from everybody, yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Based on your analogy, yeah.
The highest, the
Turn
higher,
around, he's gone.
Mayor, the higher of the two.
Yeah.
Still open to both sides of it.
Right.
Okay.
So it has to be.
Yeah. All right. Number four.
It has to be offered to 3 different people. It has to be offered to 3 different property owners.
There's nothing we can do with the property anyway, right?
It's a triangle, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, 901, 902, the same property owner. Those are the ones Pfeffer had last
Okay.
time that didn't want it. But Pfeffer might have a little conflict there, I don't know.
Don't say that unless you're sure.
Probably not.
All right,
You know
next,
about assumptions.
next is block 1064, lot 1.
This is the one that we wanted to talk about for parking, correct?
No, they want to buy it outright.
Correct, I'm saying, that's they want to use it for parking.
Not necessarily, not if they buy it outright. They might decide to expand their grocery. This is the property on the other side of that, it's between.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
It's on Route 9 next to the food store.
correct. So if I remember correctly, at one point, if I remember correctly, at one point, we almost considered all this part of something that we might want to do in the future with the Hageman tract. But being that the last Hageman, the last piece, I mean, the other side, the piece of the Hageman tract is the property that Chemet, I guess, hopes to go on if they get the environmental clearances. So this property now is just a lone piece of property with good highway frontage, right on Route 9, right between 2 stores. It can't get residential approval.
We can put it in some.
Unless it goes to the zoning board, you put it out to the 2 commercial properties.
We can sell it as
Well, it's
commercial.
undersized, you have to put it out to one of
What
the
do we
2.
want?
Well,
Deed restricted.
that's it.
We
I would like to
we can
restrict
deed
it.
restrict it for commercial only, this way we never have to worry about it.
They can't build residential on
It's
there
just
anyway.
the general-
It's within
too
200
narrow.
feet.
Yeah, it's, unless they go to the zoning board for a variance, which I can't imagine.
Well,
I should
if
say
we
that.
put it up, only for commercial, then we have to worry about that.
Yeah, but will the deed restriction lower the value?
Not if-
Well, let's stop for a minute.
Can
Could they possibly build in what the Route 9 right-of-way would be?
You mean a residential property?
No, I'm not worried about residential, that's south, but
Right.
I
If we
don't
sell
want
it,
us to build something there, and then we finally got the state saying they're gonna do Route 9 in a few years.
right.
I don't want to do anything that's going to.
How much of a right of way is there now and how much do they
200
need
feet,
that-
so I think what we should do is, if we put it up for sale, we should put well, it has the HD6, HD7 restrictions, and the HD6, HD7 restrictions are in line with what they want to do on Route 9. That's what it is. So they have to comply. Maybe you could just say they can't get any bulk variances, that's all. Any variances. If you can't get bulk, I mean, if you can't get frontage variances, and you can't get use variances, then you can't put residential, and you can't go into the...
Through the chair, the unit said they wanted to use this as a parking lot.
I thought that's what they really wanted, but.
Because that's what it looks like, if I'm reading.
Oh, 1 second, I'm sorry. I take it back. The HD6, HD7, it would still be their property, but the right-of-way would not be there. So Ray is correct, my mistake. If we do sell it to them, what we have to do is we have to say that if the state wants to widen Route 9, they would have to give their property to the state, not sell it.
Exactly, okay.
Not all of it, but we would have to pull the line. We'd have to sit down and talk to them and have our engineering department. When do you have me and Jeff going back to the DOT? Next week?
I don't know how you do that.
Why not? You put it on the meets and bounds. You just say that up to this amount would be a right on the deed. It says that if the state decides that they want to come take the first X amount of feet of the property for the widening of Route 9, you got to give it, and you can't charge them. We have all these other properties that are willing to do it. Why would we sell township property?
How do you fashion a value with that kind of context, in that kind of context?
They might buy it anyway. They don't buy it,
They can't build on, they can't
They
build.
can't build there anyway.
What's
It's
the
just a-
footage, that we need right now? I mean,
The
what,
state-
if this, let's say the state says, come to us right now and said, we're gonna
Because
do
our
it.
typical section, I think, is
Then
90.
just sell in
it's
the
between
portion-
96 and 100. It's between 90.
Yeah, they
What are you
usually
gonna
ask
do with the
for-
front property then?
They
What,
usually
you
ask
just
for
no trees
57 and a half
there?
feet from the center line of Route 9.
How much did you say,
I think
60?
57 and a half feet, but
From
even
the
though they
stand
need
is
less.
already, what, 12, 15?
Yeah.
So maybe the first 30 feet out of 200 feet deep. That's not crazy.
That's what I'm saying, so why don't we?
I think they'll buy it anyway.
We could sell it, we sell it with an easement on it for the state? Or easement for a future Route 9 widening, so we can't do anything there?
So we asked the state about easements when we were there, and they said that they're not prepared to give us easement sizes yet because they have to physically lay it out.
But would they be okay with the idea of easements? Or do they have
I
to own
guess.
it?
But, no, I think they probably want to own it. They probably don't want to put a state highway on an easement. But big deal, we tell them they have to give it up. You put it in the deed restriction.
I think they gotta do it.
I think they'll do it anyway, it's only the first couple of feet.
You're gonna charge them the whole boat.
So we'll charge the whole boat.
All right.
All right, run it by them and see what they say.
Well, before we go through the legal machinations, why doesn't Tom call the guy and say, this is what the committee says, you still wanna buy it?
There's two
Yeah,
guys.
Tom-
Two guys, whatever.
Tom has it.
No. There's one guy that requested.
But it's gonna be offered to both.
It's gonna be offered to both, but if
If
we know for
the
sure that one guy's
If the
interested.
guy who's requesting it doesn't want it with those conditions, then unless the second guy comes to me and says he wants to buy it, I'm gonna let the matter drop.
Yeah.
Right.
But if the guy says he wants it, you put it up for vote, then both of them could buy it.
You just gotta
Jeff
tell them.
has it sketched out. I think you could ask him. He probably could give him an approximation of how many feet you would need to give up if the state comes in.
But they would still need to get a site plan approval for
Of
whatever
course.
they did there. At planning board, isn't the planning board gonna say as a condition of approval, dedicate this land to the state for widening?
No, they're not gonna say dedicated, they're just not gonna.
They
limit
say
it.
you can't
Undersized,
build it.
They probably have to go to the zoning board anyway.
They're still doing a site plan. Site plans always say, we want this portion of your property dedicated, no?
Not dedicated.
No.
It's just not built on. That's the HD6, HD7 zone.
Okay.
Built on and
So
even.
so your board will just say, don't build on it, but
But you have to
but
hold
then how
it-
does the state
hold
get it?
it-
The state has to condemn it then, and that's the idea, is to avoid the state condemnation. right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, the
Is
state's
that
gonna
okay?
condemn it,
Tom
but it's
calls the
gotta
guy
be
and
for
says,
free.
this is what the committee wants. Okay, got it, Tom? All right.
I'd like to know what machination means.
No, it's a real word.
Machination is a real word.
Scheming.
Goings on.
That's all I have
That's why we got
Google
it.
Mike.
All right, we're gonna go into closed session in a minute, if anybody wants to open the
Wait,
food.
I have
open
something
something,
for open that was brought to my attention.
So bring it up while we're
While
open
it's
the
still
food.
open. Yeah, so there's the second or third ordinance for first reading, the one with the road openings. It's the second ordinance for first reading.
I would ask that it be carried because I got a lot of requests from
Okay,
board
then-
members and stuff to revisit it.
Okay, so
There's
one
a lot of
issue-
what-ifs that I can't answer.
Right, so one issue that should be kept in mind is someone came to me today and told me that that project would have costed about $700,000 more with this ordinance because they're sort of double dipping because they're making them repair the roads.
We're gonna
And-
find out what it is. I don't trust anybody telling me they're gonna be paying $750,000 based on a.
So they're done,
phone call that might-
they're done with their program, with their project, but they're saying, they're just trying to explain to me how this, the way this affects everything. Because when we spoke about it, we were talking about the
That's
regular
why we're gonna turn
customer.
off for the time being.
Okay, we spoke about a regular customer who has a 3x3 hole, and they have to pay a few $100s, but for a larger development, it end up being very costly. In my world, since we're making them do the repair anyway.
Okay. Anything else? So you can make a motion to carry or go? It's up to you.
Anything else?
No water.
Closed session?
Where are we on now?
Closed session.
Well, throw one thing out if I could. We have an ordinance that allows people to have a home-based business. If it's like one-person occupancy, person has a corner, et cetera, we charge $35 for it, it's great. I was notified by people that have moving company. Moving company is basically simple. You have a truck that's doing moving, and your paperwork is being done within your house, it's one-person home-based business. The problem is the state, when they license these, one of the requirements they have is you have to have a sign on your door for your hours of operation. That's just a law for licensing. And because we do not allow a sign for home-based businesses, people are losing their licenses. So someone called me up today about it. I tried calling Mike Sacramento on the way here. I wanted to get his take on it. I would ask the committee if we can make an exception to this home-based business. The one exception we could have a sign on the door would be for a moving company. And that would solve this issue that the people have with the licenses.
I mean, you still gotta do it by ordinance.
Try to bear ordinance, right, but I want to ask Mike first if he has any reason not to do that. This was just something that came up today, brought to my attention. I'd like to just pursue this. What I'd like to do is find out if Mike has no issue with that, if anyone here on the committee has an issue with that.
I have a home-based business. Am I allowed to speak on this?
Are you in a moving company?
No.
That doesn't affect you.
I would say find out what size the sign has to be. And then they would, well, I would say, check with the neighbors, because the whole point in not making it known that it's a business is to keep the neighbors happy.
Residential type
Yeah,
of.
there's also another thing, like some businesses, like let's say a real estate agency has to have it prominently displayed.
That's what it's gonna
If
say.
they-
I'll guarantee you that's what it's gonna say.
If they could do it on the side of the house or something, which
Well,
would not be allowed
prominent
by-
is different things to different people.
Right, so
I'm
they
saying
should
is
find
see
out-
if there are regulations about what size the sign has to be.
And where the sign
And
can
what
be
size the
placed.
letters have to be. You can have your address and then
Yeah.
a name under it.
Now, let me open up Pandora's box for this.
Right, but not
You
also,
yourself
could they
something.
put it up in the back of the house, could they put it on the side of the house? Some businesses are allowed, some businesses are not.
As long as you're not starting a moving vans there.
No, not at all. Moving vans are not a place of industrial park where they park the thing. This is this, the type of thing is not in decimal base.
Here in White.
The whites, whatever it is, this is running the business, right? You only need any.
It's like a dispatch.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm not against it if, as the mayor said, it's the property sign, and if the neighbors, I'm not opening up a can of worms with the neighbors. I'm not against it.
All right, we're going to go to closed session now. If you guys would like to grab anything, you're welcome to. I will say for the record that we will not be discussing any more business after we come out of closed session until we go downstairs.
What subject are you discussing the closed session?
Looks like contract negotiations and personnel. Sorry, I gave you more than I could on the first one, so give me a break tonight.
Yeah, now we have, yeah, first take some food.
Oh, Tom, what happened with the guy about the cameras? We're looking to live stream all the township meetings. I want you to be able to take a break once in a while and enjoy life.
And fix the mic systems too.
That defeats the purpose. Why should we be able to be heard if we're going to be seen? 30.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10th, 2017, revised via email on August 25th, 2017.
Thanks. Take a roll call, please.
Mayor Coles.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Here.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Here.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Here.
Committeeman Delia. Please rise for the flag salute and remain standing for the prayer.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we give our thanks for thy many blessings. We ask thy blessings upon this township committee and all those in authority so that they may serve the people. All this we ask in thy name. Amen.
Move open.
So made.
By Minaj.
Second.
By Mayor, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's been open. Can I have a motion to approve the executive workshop and regular minutes of July 13th and August 10th?
Second.
Moved by Minaj, second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
There is no
All
roll
in
call.
favor? Aye. Okay, open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to be heard, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Please keep the comments to 4 minutes or less.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the committee. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Giordano, Halloran, and Cecil, here on behalf of Shore Builders Association of Central New Jersey. I'm here to comment on 2 of the agenda items this evening, one of which is on for second reading. It's an ordinance, so I prefer comments on that until the hearing portion of tonight's meeting. The second item is an ordinance on for first reading. It's this, I believe it's the second item on the agenda for first reading regarding road opening ordinance. And my client, the Shore Builders, have some concerns with this proposed ordinance, and I'm here to express on their behalf a request that the committee defer action on the ordinance to pull it, so we can have an opportunity to discuss it further. Thank you.
Mayor, let me say that I spoke to Michael Gross of the same firm that just got Gentleman's Farm, and he told me that the Shore Builders weren't able to get together with him in time to discuss with you and me what suggestions they might have in the ordinance. So hopefully, he's going on vacation in Nova Scotia. Hopefully, we'll get some input from the Shore Builders folks for the next meeting. But, a little bit critical, the Shore Builders not here.
You already sat down, I can't let you back up, I'm sorry, but we did get comments from several other areas, and we did agree to pull it, so we will revise it. Seeing nobody else, I knew I should have.
Good evening, committeemen and lady. Joyce Flay, editor, reporter, NJ News and Views, 311 Toms River, New Jersey, 08755. I just have one question. The township asked for additional time from the State Planning Commission with regard to submitting all documents required for permanent plan endorsement. My question is whether the township has heard back from the Planning Commission since they've canceled many of their meetings in the last several months since the township asked for an extension.
We got it.
You did? Can you tell me when you received the permission?
Remember the date?
It was on a Monday, I just don't know.
14th. August 14th.
That was a Monday.
August
right?
14th? Great, I'll ask for the letter. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sylvia Hagenfeld, 1503 Berkowitz Avenue. I know you expect me to say something about this, and I will. Kaporos is coming, and I'm vehemently opposed to it. Not to the religious aspect, but to the use of live animals. We did not move here to be assaulted by animal abuse. These images have been seared in my memory. You have no right to expose us to this. You came to Lakewood and took over our way of life. Cruelty towards animals is punishable by law. Yet here you are, sitting back silently. Silence is equal to consent. Where is your moral compass, conscience? Do you have one? Do you? It takes only one person to implant a change. Let it be you. Also, this tradition of having wires around the property creates a dangerous condition to flying birds. I'm tired of burying hawks and songbirds. These wires must be flagged. Please make this mandatory. I thank you.
Good evening. I'm sorry I was so late. I was taking from work.
Stand and address the record.
Sure. My name is Dana Permis. I live at 14 Cathedral Drive. I have two issues. The first one, hitchhiking. I travel Pine Street every morning to go to work. I've come here the last 2 years with concerns about this. School just started again. I've been very closely, almost hit again. Is there something that can be done? And it's the same young kids out there. You know, not picking on anything in particular. It's the same kids. I've seen them last year. I've seen them years before. My worry is I pulled over last year. When the kids came running up, I rolled down my window. I kept my door locked. I'm like, how do you know I'm not somebody who's going to kidnap you? Terrified the kid, which hopefully it will stop them. We've had luring incidents in Lakewood from what I've seen. It's going to happen. One of these kids is going to get picked up by somebody bad. And it's going to be bad, whether it's somebody's going to get hit, somebody's going to get picked up and disappear, something has to be done. My second concern is, I live on Cathedral Drive. They just did the repaving, thank you. It's been a long time. I want to know what the criteria was for getting the curb lines and the aprons, the driveway aprons done. There's only a few homes got it done. My apron has been destroyed by the Public Works Department. There was a small pothole in front of my driveway years ago. They put a big mound there, whereas stays there in front of my house. Took out all the concrete. They came in today, paved. The only houses that got curbs were aprons for nonprofits and rentals for them.
I'll have to check on that, because I know when my street was done about 10 years ago, most of the aprons were replaced.
And
do me a favor before you leave, just give Katie your address.
Sure.
And Katie, give me a call tomorrow morning with that, and I will get in touch with the engineering department and Public Works to see what was done. Hopefully it was an oversight, we get it corrected, but I'll get you answers to why the line wasn't done. And if there's any issue with the swale on the water setting, hopefully the paving took care of that. But we'll get in there and take a look at it.
And then my other concern with what they did, of course, on the corner of, my property is the corner of Hope and Cathedral. And they redid the curb lines, so you can just walk down Staff and walk off the curb. I have a 50-some-odd-year-old cedar tree that's on the corner. It's been there since I was a little kid. My dad planted it. They destroyed my tree. Absolutely destroyed it. I got pictures. They cut branches back 6 feet off the air. There's no reason for it. I trimmed those branches the week before because I got my notice, my annual notice that my grass is too high, which I still don't get. I figured maybe it was because of the branches. I trimmed all the branches around the property, keeping away from the sidewalks and everything. They came and destroyed the tree. I mean, there's like a big hole beside it now. Who do I talk to?
That would be through Public Works as well. I'll have Pat Conley tomorrow when I talk to him about the rest of the issues. I'll ask him about that as well. They talk about where they put the handicap ramp sort of
Yeah,
thing. Mary, will you put that in, or does that come by the county?
I think any road restoration has to come along as an ADA requirement for us to do it. So if it was on the corner of Cathedral and Hope, I believe that was a municipal job. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we have to put those ramps in.
Yeah, that I had no
It
problem.
has like the red,
Yeah.
it has like the red box in it.
Yeah. And I have no complaints about that. I understand that. There's just what they did to my tree.
I'll find out what happened. I apologize for it.
That's it. Thank you.
Jerry Ballins, Block 104, Lot 3.208. Now, unless you're around carrying a book saying where all these blocks are, you're really in the dark. And my concern has been that recently I have noticed in the newspaper regarding legal notices put out by attorneys for applicants before either the zoning or the planning board, that this is what they've been doing, putting in just the lot and the block. And years ago, there used to be, or maybe not too long ago, there used to be maybe one person that used to do this. I now see more attorneys doing this and not also putting down the AKA, also known as, like my address, 208 Governor's Road. So this is a lack of transparency, and I'm wondering if there's, and I guess per the statute, the attorney or whoever's putting in the legal notice just has to put in basically the lot and block. But for transparency purposes, you should really put in the actual house number and street that the applicant is, is representing, and not just, what the lot and block. Also, I noticed for the first time, I think, that the planning board, when they listed their determinations made at the last meeting, that's what they did. They just put in lot and block and no address. And I don't know if they've done this before or not, but I did notice it a couple of days ago. The second issue I have is next week, there will be, and the following week after that, there will be 4 public hearings regarding the master plan. Public hearings. And it's going to be 4 hearings within like 8 days. Now, we know that it's easier for a township not to have to put out all of the notices to the people who might be rezoned, that your area is going to be rezoned, but because it's in the master plan, everybody is supposed to be on their tiptoes and say, oh, is my area going to be rezoned? And in the newspaper last Friday, there were 2 small notices, one by Mr. Jackson, the attorney for the planning board, and Ally Morrison, the planner. And all they had basically was the dates, next Tuesday and Wednesday, and the following Tuesday and Wednesday. Nothing about on which of those 4 days should I, as a resident of Lakewood, have my antennae tuned up saying, gee, on this date, they're going to be possibly rezoning areas where I live by. And I don't know if this was really a proper notification as to where these areas will be rezoned, and if a resident only wants to go to one meeting and they can't go to all 4, there was nothing about in the agenda which of those 4 dates should I really go to, because I'm really going to be impacted. The third thing is we see what happened in Texas and with the flooding, and I think, the heart goes out to all the people who are suffering because of it. But one of the important things has been large vacant areas that are needed for staging areas. And so I think that with the master plan for Lakewood, we need to have open space for any potential problems in the future where people and important people, equipment can organize. Years ago when the officer was, died, he was shot, the stadium was an important place for all of the people coming from, the officers coming from out of town, where they were able to park their vehicles at the Blue Claws. So it's really important to keep a lot of open space for any potential tragedies.
Thanks, Jerry. Steve, when you post legal notices, is there a requirement that the street name or address be listed as well?
No,
Can we impose that?
it's a state statute, so you really can't.
Would we ever talk to our planning board and tell them that anytime there is a lot and block, that they should also include the address or the street as close as possible to it? Sure. Do that one, please. Jerry, what was your third one?
Well, the second one was about the dates of the master plan and which one
Right,
was.
okay. Number one, the public will have an opportunity to speak at each one of those meetings, and they don't have to be there for a particular meeting to let their concerns be known. We put a copy of the master plan up on the website the day I received it, so that people have had weeks to go through it, so they should be able to have a good idea. There was also an addendum put on, some changes that we noticed there were mistakes in there that we had repaired, so we let people know about that. So hopefully they have the opportunity to read through the master plan. They can see if their area or an area that they're concerned about is affected. They can come to any of those 4 meetings. Their points will be put on the record and will be addressed within that. And as far as the emergency preparedness, the Blue Claw Stadium is there for everything. When we hit Sandy a couple of years ago, that's where all the tree cutters mobilized. There were tents and everything was set up out there for them. We have Pine Park, we have John Patrick, we've got a lot of places. Hopefully we will never need to use it for anything like that, but I think we're as prepared as anybody could be with the actual place to stage in case of an emergency. So, thank you.
Resnick, 22 Sandstand. There's been a lot of writing in different threads past about how they're widening the street. And I drive down the streets and I see the exact opposite. For example, on 88, right over the tracks, they put a house up. Now that they have to put a cement barrier in front of the house that's under construction so that cars do not drive into the house. Like, isn't that like, I said, we're widening 88. Keep hearing how we're trying to widen 88. Why are you building a house on 88? This is momish on the street. So much so that they have to put a cement barrier in front of the house so that cars don't drive into it. Like, that's what I want to know.
Okay. We've requested the state widen 88. That's something that's.
How could they widen 88 if you keep building houses on top of
They
it?
can't build, they have to sometimes take property if they're going to widen it. The streets that we've been talking about are municipal streets that we've made plans for. Plans started this year. Unfortunately, we can't get them under construction until next year. So we are looking at a lot of different ways. One of the things you're going to notice in the master plan is that new streets are going to be required to be wider than even the residential site improvement standards call for. So we're looking for different ways to try and widen the street so that we have to make sure that there's room not only for people to park, but for emergency vehicles to get in and out and to be able to turn around. So we're doing what we can with our streets. We're working with the county. They told us their top priority is to widen Cross Street. Hopefully 4 lanes from Route 9 to Massachusetts and then 3 past that. But again, we requested it from them. They gave us their assurance that they're going to do it. But it has to be planned, it has to be put out to bid, constructed, so it's going to take some time. So we are looking to do what we can. We will, again, ask the state about Route 88. The good news, and I'll let Mayor Lickerson share this since he's been doing most of the work, we met at the Department of Transportation a week or 2 ago. And they are now definitely putting the plans together to widen Route 9 for the full length. That's going to take some time, but Mayor, what did you fill in for some of the short-term stuff?
Sure. In the interim, 2019, the state's going to be coming in, resurfacing Route 9, opening up many of the intersections, putting in turning lanes, and do it. So that's about 2 years from now. In other words, probably the spring of 2019. They had planned to come in 2018 to surface, and then again in 2019 to do some of the construction. We asked them not to do that. We asked them to do it all in one shot so as not to inconvenience our residents. And they said that by that time, they hope to have, I think they called it an environmental impact study, where basically they're going to take the actual Route 9 widening that they want and overlay it and see what kind of environmental impact is, what kind of property taking there has to be, what kind of shoulders there has to be. And what they told us, what the commissioner told the mayor and I, that this is the first time ever, with all the talk about Route 9, that they were actually funded to do it. And I think that was in part due to Senator Singer's vote on the gas tax and bringing money to Ocean County to make sure that our Route 9 gets widened. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So I've got 88, is anything done about it?
We mentioned 88. We were a little bit upset when they came in and just did the repaving this year. And the mayor really tried very hard to get them to do the widening in some areas, not the whole
Why
way.
improving houses to be built on the street?
People own the property. We can't keep people from building on their own
But
property.
you were able to do by 9, you said no one could build 200 feet from the property line, so why is 88 even built on the street?
That's something that we should talk about with the master plan.
Hi, good evening. Mr. Schmidt, Meadows Development. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the entire neighborhood. There is strong public interest in the passage of the ordinance, section N4, the agenda, the acceptance of lot 190, lot 58.13. I cannot underscore how strong the public interest is. I just would like to perhaps suggest an amendment. It might be a little bit late, you don't have to do it, but I've had some of the discussion, some of the dialogue. You don't have to do it, but what we want is to make sure that this dedication is recorded properly. There is state statute that requires, compels, have this discussion with the clerk's deputy, the county council, and several other people that are in this business. We want to make sure that this dedication, following passage, is recorded in the book of dedications. Dedications are not limited to only rights of way on streets, roadways, other types of places. It's applicable to every public place. Whether or not you've had the custom to do this in the past is not relevant. We want to make sure that it's properly recorded, and they're waiting for receipt of this ordinance with the proper type of manner to put it into the book of dedications with a special index. Again, thank you so much for what you've done. This is the right thing to do. Appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you. Harold?
We're on top of that, Mayor.
Right away.
Yeah, we're on top.
The second reading, I had discussion in the second reading.
Appreciate it.
Once you speak to the county, take a little time.
While I'm recording it,
Can I start?
You're up. Your address.
The address is 430, lot 24. Thank you for teaching me the way of doing my address. It's okay.
It's the best speech you've ever given.
There's a property next in Hartstone that my information that is coming to me now is that was dedicated 40 years ago to the Hartstone neighborhood for a park and open space. That's why the developer was able to get smaller lots, because he dedicated some lots for open space. That's my understanding. I'm waiting for getting the documents. Recently, the zoning board, the planning board approved a few houses on that. And an individual looked it up, and he found out that this property that was dedicated for open space was actually vacated, that open space and dedication, by this township committee. And I don't want anybody to tell me they didn't know about it. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but Mr. Mayor, you were the one that motioned that ordinance. And there was a second. But I'm just trying to bring out that this type of public space that was dedicated to the public was stolen from the public, that was dedicated to the Hartstone neighborhood, and now people are going to build houses on there. It's not acceptable. I'm not talking about the regular township land that is given away and selling and all that. I'm talking about dedicated land for open space that they got the approval is now in the hands of a developer. So this type of behavior, I was shocked to see it. And the way it came out is, it says, Cindy Krupnik dedicated this land to the Township of Lakewood. Trust me, Cindy Krupnik does not dedicate anything. He takes, he doesn't give. So it's very interesting that obviously some kind of deals was done behind that he gave that land, that he had a tax lien. I don't know how he got it, but by the end of the game is, this is open space that was dedicated to township. And then you see his ordinance, they accept that a few months later, it's to vacate. It looks like very not kosher business over there, how the township did them this. I don't know who the attorney was, I don't know who the manager was, I don't know who the clerk was, I don't know in the township committee who knew about it. Maybe some kind of the developer was playing around under the scenes. But this is not acceptable that yet dedicated open space was stolen from the public. On the second note, you have today I'm not asking you to comment on that. I'm just asking you to look into that. The block is, what is the block? What?
Is it 490? 490.
No, I want to give the block because I want the public to know which block and lot number that is. If you just mind give me a second to look that up. So whoever listens to this should be able to look into them themselves. Lot 430, lot number 16. Again, block 430, lot number 16 was just approved. It's on the cul-de-sac of Clear Drive in Hartstone Development. That was supposed to be open space for parks to the public for Hartstone Development, and now it's gone. I don't know if you could do anything about it, but again, it's not acceptable. Thank you. I'll leave my second comment because the time is up. Thank you.
Anybody else like to be speaking tonight?
Will you be looking into it?
Yes, I learned about this when I came in here tonight. Somebody mentioned it to me. I know that the lot was sold a few years ago. This is the first that I've heard that there was some kind of dedication for open space about it, and yes, I'm going to look into it. Thank you. All right, seeing nobody else, we'll close the public portion. Go to the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes, through the chair. I'd like to remove number 16, which is the digital zoning maps for everything burning. I think that needs to be looked at a little further before voting on it.
Yeah, I heard that there were several errors that were identified today, so we'll take that out separately. We'll ask for a motion. Nobody makes the motion to adopt. We'll reintroduce it to the maps as correct. Anything else on the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Number 9, we're rewarding a resolution rewarding Remington and Vernon the opportunity to use some traffic signal design. I would like to ask that the verbiage be changed, not that we are going to, but that we have the right to do it, and ask, and then after we vote on it, I would ask the manager not to award it, Mayor, until he consults with us as exactly to what we're going to be doing there along Route 9. And he said, the manager did explain to me why he did it, he may be correct. He said that I asked for it, actually, so I thank him. But I just want to make sure that I know what I was talking about when I asked.
Mayor, you should pull out from the agenda, leave it separate.
Leave it separate? All right, so I'd like to pull mine from the
We're going to pull
agenda.
9 and 16.
If you want to vote on it, Mayor,
You got one poll?
I'll make a motion on the entire consent agenda without number 9 and 16. Mayor, for discussion on what I just voted on? I just want to thank you, Mayor, for number 11. That is the county line sidewalk improvement. I know that I was pushing a little hard on that, and you made sure that we were able to find money for it, even though it was not appropriated this year. I believe you gave up a project that meant a lot to you, so I just wanted to thank you for it.
Make sure the kids can walk safely is more important than delivering the field.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? We have a roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. All right, now a motion on 9.
Yes, I'd like to motion it and just change the verbiage to say we may award it.
I'll second that. All right, moved by Mayor, second by Menashe. Any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. And not have a motion for 16. And seeing none, we'll let that die for the time being. We'll make sure that that map corrections are identified as quickly as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ordinances for second reading.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Article 2, definitions, Section 18-200-B, definition of terms, and Article 3, design standards, Section 18-808, off-street parking, loading, and circulation of Chapter 18, Unified Development Ordinance.
Yes, you know my black and white already, right? Okay, this is the attic ordinance. The attic ordinance happened because people were doing some were doing apartments, and they claim there's no evidence on it, but everybody in Lakewood knows that it was done. And then there is people are adding bedrooms, and obviously it's more bedrooms. This means more cars needed, and that's how you calculate. People were, when you have more bedrooms, you have to do more parking. That's how the ordinance is written. And if you wanted to make it easier on the end user, shouldn't have to add parking when there's no parking space like this. You could add the attic. This ordinance created that at least that they should count if the developer does an attic and people will develop it, they should have an incentive to do it legally, and like this, they should have the calculated as one bedroom when the developer comes for the planning board or zoning board, and if a waiver needs to be given, they will give it out. Then, like this, the end user is not being hit that he has to do the attic illegal, and that's where the ordinance purpose was. One of the concerns that was brought up that the same way as the basement is abused, that means that you calculate it as 2 bedrooms and people put 4 to 5 bedrooms. Yeah, they do it into apartments, but let's not speak about apartments. We're talking about bedrooms. People are making big houses and talking about units with a lot of bedrooms in the basements, and they're calculating it as 2 bedrooms. I brought it up with the township engineer. They said is that they are reading the ordinance that even though you will put 10 bedrooms in the basement, they'll only calculate it as 2. Even though when I spoke to the mayor and other members of the planning board, they said is that it's incorrect, that's what's not with the 10th of the zoning, but that's how they read it, and that's how you're just having a lot of bedrooms and basements without calculating the parking, and it becomes, obviously, Lakewood is a problem. We brought up the same problem will happen by the attics. It was brought up by the planning board. The planning board recommended the township to fix it, to fix the attic and to fix the language in the basements. It was discussed by the workshop meeting. Menashe Miller didn't want to touch the basements for whatever good reasons he had. Respect his opinion.
I spoke about it publicly. The reason is most basements.
Your mic is not working.
Sorry.
Or
Most basements are usually the young, and I spoke about this at the meeting and went on to record, most basement apartments are younger couples. The reason why, as you have more basement apartments, as we have more bedrooms, you want to have more parking spots is because you have more cars. But technically speaking, those renting basements, as we know, they're small apartments, usually young couples with little children, that additional bedroom, whether it's a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom, it's not going to trigger more parking spots.
unless if they do 2 apartments.
Correct, that's correct.
So that's an issue that you have to understand. Whenever you're explaining it, you have to notice when people nobody makes basements with 4 or 5 bedrooms. It's usually split into 2 apartments.
Right. We do have rear every now and then. I know of a large family that has done that. It's rear, but it gets done. We're trying to regulate this for the majority of.
The issue became is what happens to the attic, and everybody agreed the language has to be changed. I looked in the language and it was not changed, and that is not acceptable. Because I was by the workshop meeting and you all agreed that the language should be changed, that the attic should be counted as 1 bedroom only if it's raw. Once it's being built, it should specify you have to calculate the bedrooms. Nobody bothered fixing that. And I think that is unacceptable.
I think automatically, if you look into it again, automatically, once you start getting bedrooms to the house done legally, that will trigger additional parking spots.
That is the argument, the same argument with the basements in the engineering department.
Basements are different. I think the basements are different.
Why? Basements, the language is the same. The language is the same. The same way your engineering department, to be honest with you, it's a weird way of reading. I know I am not so good at English, but anybody that I asked to read it, everybody understood it the way you understood now. It says only row basements, once you build it, you have to add the bedrooms. Everybody understood it, except of the engineering department, where they're the deciding factor. And they told Francine Siegel to not calculate, and when somebody finishes the basement, not to calculate. The same thing is going to happen now with the attics, because it's the same language. It was discussed by your meeting. I was there. It was recorded. We put it on YouTube. And it was discussed that the language will be changed, that by attics it should say, it's only talking about if somebody wants to make a raw attic, once you finish it, it's going to be calculated, the bedrooms, automatically, like you're saying now. And it's not in that language, that means it's your engineering department is going to read it the same as the basements. Because it's the same English language, it's not the Spanish, it's the same language.
Thank you. Time. Steve, do me a favor, Mr. Jackson, Basti, and the engineering department, sit down and make sure they understand the intent of this, see if they're reading it a different way, that we need to address any of the language change today.
Okay. Is this going to be consistent with the planning board's recommendation or inconsistent?
As it is now, it's consistent with their recommendation. I want to make sure that if Mr. Klein has some valid points, that we can address them. That's why I'm saying we need to get together another one of our regular meetings with the planning board.
I got you. All right.
All right, thanks, Mr. Klein. We'll look into it.
So they're not fixing the language the way you put it in the
I'm going to
fix.
get this done so that we don't have any more that go through. And if indeed we find out that things have to be changed, we'll put an addition or an ordinance in or an amendment to it, I should say.
Thank you.
So that won't just drop it.
Hi, good evening again. Stephen Dalton with the law firm of Giordano, Halloran and Cecily here on behalf of Shore Builders Association of Central New Jersey. And the association's position on this proposed ordinance is that it is requesting the committee not to adopt the ordinance. It has a number of concerns with the proposal, primarily focused not on the end user, but on the front user builder, who, under this ordinance, will be saddled with the burden and obligation, we believe unfairly, to provide additional parking for construction of attic space that may never be used as bedroom. And we believe there's no correlation necessarily between attic space and parking. Beyond that, we've heard through the gentleman who made some initial comments that there are questions of interpretation about the language that's been proposed. So we would recommend that rather than move forward, that the committee take the opportunity and time to further consider this, not act, pull it from the agenda for this evening for further consideration. I know I made a similar request earlier with a different ordinance on behalf of my client. Agree with Mr. Seafair's comments that we were late in the game on coming to the committee about this, and we apologize. We should have been. Thank you. I need skills. We certainly recognize we could have come to you sooner, and we didn't. But we asked for an opportunity to speak with the township's professionals about our concerns. Again, because from our perspective, attic space that isn't designed as a bedroom and isn't constructed as a bedroom, even if it meets certain size requirements that are set forth in the ordinance, may never be used as a bedroom. And so why should the builder be obligated to provide additional parking that may never be required? The township ordinance already goes beyond what's required under the RSIS. And this ordinance will now superimpose parking obligations on builders to require even more parking. Have situations where an attic might be converted to a bedroom. And if that happens, the town can enforce. It can require permits for that conversion. If it's done illegally, the town can enforce. But if the space is, let's say, used for an office or a play area, well then there would be a parking requirement that the builder satisfied on the front end that really wouldn't come into play, except for this presumption under the ordinance that the attic should be treated as a bedroom. So we think this creates an unfair burden on builders and developers, and for those reasons, we've asked respectfully that the committee consider, in light of these our comments and the other comments that have been made, pulling this for further consideration. Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard on this ordinance only?
Nechama Goldstein, 31 Kingsfield Drive. I live across the street from the construction that's going up now, and this lawyer, what he was saying, that if builders were honest, I would agree with him. But I see what's going up, I see what happens across the street. It just doesn't get finished until they get a C of O, and then it gets finished, and it's used for bedrooms, and they should have an extra parking spot for an attic, because otherwise it will never happen. And that's just the way it works. Whether or not people are going to be penalized because it will not ever be used as a bedroom, it's not true. Most of the time it is used as a bedroom, and the people who need the attic for additional bedroom space usually have children that are driving, so they do need an extra parking spot. And I don't think that you could say maybe it's never going to be used as a bedroom, and when it be used as a bedroom, then we'll put in an extra parking spot, because that's not going to happen, and we all know that. Thank you.
Once. Close the meeting to the public. Can I have a motion?
Can I say something?
No, not until we move in second. Is there a motion?
For the purpose of discussion.
All right, move.
Well, I know Mike wants to say something, right? So I'll move.
Is there a second? All right, discussion?
Now, Mayor, what I would like to say is I'm agreeing with the gentleman who just got up and spoke. And evidently, the wording isn't exactly the way you want it. Is that correct?
Any language can be interpreted as number of
Okay. What say you?
I thought it was inconsistent with Ali Morris's comments, which means that we each have to individually or collectively say we disagree with the planning board's recommendation. I
can hear you.
So what was your question, Mr. Blaine?
I was asking you if you felt the wording was sufficient to vote on it tonight or hold it.
Well, when I talked to Mr. Gross again, he said, well, can you carry it? I said, well, the mayor doesn't like to carry things when it's on the agenda. He said, well, when we vote on it, can you change it later? I said, it's up to the committee, not to me.
It would be nice if you told us before we sat down at this table tonight.
Well, that's why I said the sewer builders were in it late.
I'm not
We
worried
were told
about
about the road opening ordinance. Nobody said a word to me about concerns about this one, other than Mr. Klein. So committee, it's your decision what you want to do with this. There's a motion and a second on the table.
Maybe we should carry it, so we can resolve this and make it solid. So
That would be my recommendation, because as everybody said, the language is kind of unclear.
I'll revise my second.
I guess I got to revise my first, right?
Yeah. Roll call.
Do you have a date positive, Mayor?
I have no idea. What would you suggest?
We have September 14th, October 18th.
The Shore Builders History Chronicle people sometime next year to get back. No offense.
So for January 15th, Mayor?
You have to ask next year's mayor.
I'll,
Put down for the November meeting. It better be done by then.
November 2nd.
Sure.
all right, I'll amend my motion to carry this with no further advertisement, I guess, to the November 2nd meeting.
I'll amend my second. Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
No. Next ordinance.
An ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Article 8, Design Standards, Section 18-807B3, off-street parking, loading and circulation, and Article 9, Zoning Districts and Regulations, Section 18-903M6G, Industrial Zone M1, off-street parking of the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 18.
Will be made to the public.
Yes, this ordinance was recommended by the planning board. You have two bodies over here. There's a planning and zoning. They just work opposites. And I just want to explain why the planning board recommended this ordinance, because there's not enough parking in the parking lots in commercial buildings. So therefore, they recommended that you should amend to put that, not like till now, one car for every 300 square feet. Now it's 1 car for 250. It just, I think they asked for 200, and the committee made it somewhere in between to make the shore builders happy.
No, nothing to do with shore builders.
Or nothing to do with shore builders.
That I'm aware of.
So the problem is that this ordinance is null and void when it comes to the zoning board. The planning board is very concerned about parking, and you can see in their record lately, they're very concerned about it. But when it comes to the zoning board, if you do less parking, it depends. If you're an individual that comes to the zoning board, it will be tough like hell. But if you're coming as a developer, and all you're asking a little bit less parking, they'll give it to you. They just did it over here by the courtyard. The developer came, he doesn't have enough parking, and he said he wants to extend to make a community room, he wants to take off from the parking lot. He says his nurses are not coming with cars, they're coming with public transportation, they're claiming these old people don't drive, they will make sure that anybody that comes into their courtyard is somebody that is like, not even handicapped, that they are not, they were like selling them Toyota Sluction, how you say it in Yiddish. But the end of the game is they approved it and without consideration for parking. So you could put in your ordinance whatever you want. But if you can't take the zoning board and get them in the right place, anybody that needs a parking variance will make sure that he does something, that he runs to the zoning board, that it is required to go to the zoning board, and they'll give it to him. So I'll just give you an example about two zoning board members. You're talking about individual Obi Gonzalez. He sits on the board only to get things approved on his street, on Chestnut Street. Yes, he claims he did the property, he's trying to rezone his property, and the zoning board, he will abstain. We made a ruckus about it. Yeah, I'm keeping it in, I'm just trying to bring out a point. And I'll keep it in the 5 minutes. And he goes and he says, no, I want to sit on this property next door, 20 feet, but he has a direct financial interest. And on video, on the public, he has no problem sitting there and approving stuff.
Please bring it back to this ordinance. I'll talk to you about the other stuff, but we really need to keep it on the ordinance.
When we bring up about parking issues by the zoning board, the chairman of the zoning board treats the public, when they bring up these type of comments, like a nuisance. He just waits. You know when you could see is that a board, when we bring up this parking problems, we see is, are they working for the developers or they're working for the public? What is the interest they're looking out to? When they treat the public not respectful, I'm giving you an example, the mayor, how respectful you treat the public, and even if somebody goes offline, you won't bash him back, you won't give him the attitude. If he gets a little bit 5 seconds over the limit, you'll let him finish his talk. And even now, you're claiming is that I'm going off topic, you just, I don't know what to do. That is called is that you as a mayor or a committee wants to listen to the public, and the public comes and you respect the public, and you don't make the feeling is that you work for the developers. When the developers come in with these type of parking variants that you're trying to eliminate, that the planning board is asking you to do, by the zoning board that's null and void, because when a developer comes in, for some reason it gets approved. I have a solution for this. These 2 members are coming now up for recertification, and I know you may or won't be the opportunity to get rid of them, but again, I don't know who the next mayor is going to be but this ordinance, with this chairman on that board, that he's affecting the whole board in his attitude, is null and void. Thank you. Hold on. No.
Aaron Hirsch, 146 months. I wasn't going to speak, but I just wanted to add to that. I agree with what he just said. I was personally attacked by the chairman as well. I was speaking up about something in my area, and he went and personally attacked me in public in front of everyone. He's been there a long time. He's obviously lost his patience. He must have, we had problems, things are going the wrong way there. We have to reconsider his reappointment. Seriously, I personally was attacked in public.
I hear your comment.
Thank you.
I apologize. All right, close this hearing to the public. Do we want to move this one?
I'll motion it.
I'll second. Second, Isaac, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the granting of a conservation restriction easement to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection of properties designated herein as township-owned properties outside or partially outside sewer service areas lying within the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13B1 and NJSA 30:8B-3.
For the public, is there anybody, the block and lot number, it's 430, anybody remembers? I think it's lot number 24. 15? It's between 15 and 30, so it's under that range. Question that I have is, this ordinance, I just want anybody could explain what this ordinance is all about, just for the public, to explain. Somehow it looks like you're dedicating land, restricting land for not being able to use. What is this all about?
Harold can do it.
Thank you.
I want the man who wrote it to.
Now I'll make my comment after. I understand what's going on.
We actually explained it last time when we had the planners here from TNM. This is part of a state plan endorsement. It was a request by the Department of Environmental Protection that the municipality grant a restrictive covenant on properties owned by the township to preclude their utilization for anything other than conservation areas. It goes hand in hand with the application for state plan endorsement that was explained by the planners at the last occasion. This will be part of a proposed ordinance that's being put together concerning non-contiguous lots and the ability to utilize the properties in the core areas and continue to preserve these properties. That's what this is. It's a request by the DEP. It was basically a requirement that we get that going to get that extension from state plan.
What I'm concerned, this is what I'm concerned, maybe it's not like that. What I'm concerned is that this is somehow, the shore builders won't stand up and speak about this. That's my, he's coming, right? My concern is that for somehow the developers, that's my understanding is, have to sometimes dedicate some land for conservation, for CAFRA, or certain land for these type of uses. These type of land that the township is going to dedicate for this conservation, they'll be able to use these lands to offset their land. That means we have township land that could be not used. You don't have to dedicate that for CAFRA or conservation for DEP and that won't help the builders. They will have to dedicate their own land. That means they will have to come in and say, okay, we're going to buy a property and we'll dedicate that property. What you're doing over here is, you're helping, again, I don't know, but it looks to me like you're just giving the builders that they should be able to use cheaper land and use township land that you reserve that to offset their DEP problems. Again, it could be I'm not understanding that, I just want to correct it. And I'll let you do it.
So right now, there's no conservation easement on the property. So that means that if the town wanted to partner with the developer, we could do it anyway. What this is allowing us to do is this is making sure that the conservation easement is there, but the DEP is continuing to allow us to do it. The only thing that we were not able to do before was we couldn't mix something called Schedule A and Schedule B properties, which are very specific properties in the town that the DEP themselves designated and said, they said, if you need something from the DEP for Schedule A, you can't use it for Schedule B. You can use the two together. So that's exactly what happened. In other words, nothing more happened with the conservation easement. Because if we don't do a conservation easement now, the town has a right to partner with the developer for habitat, wetlands, or whatever mitigation they may need. But now that there's a conservation easement, we can continue to do that. And then the additional requirement that the DEP has for the Schedule A and Schedule B properties in our planning endorsement process, it allows the two of them to work together.
So just to clarify, a developer that needs to dedicate some land for his property because of DEP for conservation is
because
is going to be able to buy this type of property from the township to
not buy the property, but buy the rights, yeah.
Buy the rights.
And he was able to do it before this also.
Yes, but till now, because you didn't put this conservation, he had to pay full price because he's
No, not necessarily. Probably the same.
So
most of these lands are not in the sewer service area. A lot of them are environmentally sensitive. No, it's incorrect.
So till now, you sold land in Lakewood to developers.
We could have. I don't know if we ever did. I'm sure we must have done some deals together on CAFRA. I don't remember if we did or we didn't, but we certainly could have.
You did Oak Street Corridor.
Okay, then we did.
You did a lot of them, like 40 acres.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to bring out, I'm sorry, I'm off the chart. I'm just trying to.
I comments and give each other.
I'm just trying to tell you what my concern is. Till now, when a developer wanted to buy these type of lands that you can't use, he actually was paying a higher price because you value that land, and now we're going to restrict that land, so he had to pay a certain price for that. I'm sure Oak Street Corridor did this deal with the township, and it's in the books, that they dedicated 144 acres somewhere in Lakewood, that they had to pay for it.
some kind of limit, that's how you.
So what you're saying is because
I'm
you're
just
gonna conserve the land anyway, it's gonna lower the value of the land?
That's my
It's
concern.
just the opposite. I think it's just the opposite.
Could be, I
That-
don't know, man.
That's what we discussed with Cap.
That's the whole idea of that non-contiguous lot ordinance, that there's gonna be a price tag placed on the ability of a developer in a sewer service area to transfer his tree save to these areas, but he's gonna be paying a
It's
premium.
gonna be a higher value. I
Yeah.
believe so.
That's correct. Yeah,
It's
that's
gonna
that
be
billing
hard.
system that's being set, but that's not completed yet, that work is.
Only, right, that's for the future, and that's only in the Schedule A and Schedule B. That's not if you just do it with, like, what you just said, then it's the same value. But if you do it in the CAFRA required Schedule A, Schedule B properties, it's more of a value because CAFRA is recognizing it as one permit.
So, just to sum it up, is this helping the developers or it's helping the public?
It's allowing you want to know?
Don't give me a
I think
hard
it's
answer.
helping- No, I'll give you a real answer. I think that it's very much helping the public. It is taking property in Lakewood, making sure that there's a conservation easement on it so that it gets protected. And it is in concert with what we did with the DEP. That is why there were certain areas that could have had sewer, could have been developed, that do not have sewer and are not, I mean, privately owned land, they could try for septic. But in the municipal land, it will not get developed, it will have the conservation easement, and it will further help the public because besides for only conserving the land, we're also able to monetize the property and make money for the taxpayer. So you want to know, can a developer do a deal? Yes. You want to know, at the end of the day, who's going to gain the most? The town is giving up developable freedom on these properties and still getting paid for it, so I think that helps the public.
Thank you.
Good evening again. Joyce Blay, editor/reporter, NJ News and Views, 311 Floral Way, Toms River, New Jersey. I have one question. First of all, is this ordinance required for permanent state plan endorsement?
Yes.
Second question is, under plan endorsement, I believe the Township Committee has frequently discussed this as offering an incentive to, I'm trying to find a way to phrase this correctly. Let me just say, what exactly is the incentive with regard to impervious coverage percentages if the state does grant permanent plan endorsement to Lakewood?
I don't know off the top of my head because I have to research.
Well, it depends where in Lakewood it is. So I'm not sure what you're asking. So like these properties that we're talking about, the encouragement is there should be no impervious coverage at all, and it should remain
No,
open.
not in this
But,
area.
it depends if it's in a core or a node in a town center. It's any place probably between 60 and 80% impervious coverage, like it was before the permit extension act expired.
In other words, by setting aside this land as part of plan endorsement, which ensures open space for, correct me if I'm wrong, active or passive, that also conversely permits development of town centers, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, that's the
with a
whole
higher
purpose. That is exactly what plan endorsement is.
Is that
It's exactly what it
percentage, would it be accurate? And again, I don't know whether this information I was given is correct. Does that mean that the impervious coverage can be increased to as high as 80%, which is what one?
Very possible, yes. But
It can be.
But that's the whole purpose of plan endorsement, is to
Okay.
encourage people not to come in sub-CAFRA. Don't forget, if the CAFRA coverages are low, and we're not talking about habitat, we're talking about impervious coverage, then people just come in sub-CAFRA. If you come in sub-CAFRA, you can just do the impervious coverage. So that is the purpose of plan endorsement, to encourage people not to try to do things sub-CAFRA, to do them in the cores and the nodes, to get to 80%, at the same time make sure that this property that's set aside for habitat, for wildlife, for wetlands, and for impervious coverage.
Conversely, the areas that are set aside, designated for more intense development, if I understand correctly, will go from an impervious coverage percentage I think it's about 35% now to 80%, is that correct?
Again, only if you come into CAFRA. If you don't, if you come in sub-CAFRA, which a lot of people do when they have an issue with CAFRA, there is no control on the pervious coverage. That is why we're doing plan endorsement. So the answer is yes, if you come into CAFRA, you get it. But if you don't do it, then it is just piece by piece by piece, and there is no control over the pervious coverage, or not no control, there's no CAFRA, it's sub-CAFRA.
All right, thank you very much.
Jerry Baldwin's Governor's Road. When we first got this a couple of weeks ago, I tried to locate all of these different areas, and then I get stopped, and then all of a sudden, the meeting is tonight. And one of the areas that I was trying to find whether or not it is listed on here, and again, I don't know what the lot and block number is, but it's about 5 acres that the township owns near the railroad tracks. That's behind the old Public Works off of 9th Street. And it's actually the beginning of the headwaters for the Cabin Field stream. And it's somewhere near Park Avenue and Harvard Street. And I had been over there years ago when there were some new plants going in. And a gentleman who lived in the area showed me the area, and he said how when it rains it gets very moggy and soggy, and that those trees have to remain there. And it is sort of like the beginning of the Cabin Field stream. Whether or not that is the case, I don't know. But it's just to the west of the railroad tracks, and I don't know if it's part of Block 17401 or not. So I just want to make sure that those acreage over there is preserved. And I think when I was trying to look under that lot and block, I couldn't. You know, I just had the smartphone and it wasn't coming up very well. And I wasn't able to determine to my satisfaction that this area is to be preserved. So could somebody verify whether this area is part of all of these different parcels?
Yes, a large part of the old Public Works is going into preservation. I couldn't tell you the lot block off the top of my head either.
Right, I know.
I publish these on Tuesdays if you have any questions.
I won't be able to go to any of those meetings. Somebody's going to be very happy, but I cannot attend any of those 4 meetings. It's falling at a bad time for me. So that's why I said I have to come tonight. But I don't know. I mean, you're going to be passing this ordinance, and you're listing specific lots and blocks. And how do we make sure that that area is preserved? Because we don't know now. Can somebody check and see, if that's what it is?
Yes.
Before you vote on it tonight? But then if it isn't included, and it should be included, when would it be amended to put it?
I'm fairly confident that it's in there. We have talked about the old Public Works and the need to conserve most of it because of the wetlands involved in it. So we will verify that it's there, and if it's not, we'll use some mechanism to put it into conservation.
Okay, because it's right along the railroad tracks and, right.
Exactly where
It's trees. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair? Oh, it's supposed to the public.
Close the meeting to the public.
Through the chair, that was a good point that Ms. Hall was making. We make sure that the uplands part is actually not the part that, in other words, the preserved part is the entire part that's supposed to be preserved.
There are multiple references to block 174.01, location New Jersey Railroad, and 344 Brook. It looks like the whole block seems to be part of this.
All right,
But
so
I just see the tax map.
So let's take a look at the DPW property, please.
And that attachment can be modified as we go through with the DP's consent.
Here's my question. By voting tonight, does that mean we have to, or we have permission them to do so? Meaning if we vote on this tonight, we have to look at it, realize there's some out there that we did not want to be. So, I mean, is the action we're doing tonight by voting and saying this is what we want to do, saying we must do it, or this is now giving us, all of us here, agreement that we could do it, but if we necessarily want to hold back on pieces of it, we can?
It's if I could answer, it's step 1 in the process. And then when we sit down and map it out with the DEP, the DEP is expecting, and how many acres was this, 9?
4.5% of the township's property was used.
Hundreds and hundreds of acres. So they're expecting us to once it's passed, to actually take a map and look at the plot and not to look at the exact parcels.
Yeah.
So we can adjust it accordingly?
I believe that, well, that's
Yes,
what the.
we're not signing the dedication, the
Right.
conservation dedication
And
until
adjust it.
we finalize with the DEP these.
We're not gonna change anything that's environmentally sensitive.
Oh, no.
Correct, but if something's upland, then we can.
And something you're supposed to be on.
Just through the chair, those old timers call this Taipei Swamp.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Moved by Manal, second by Mike. Mike, your comment?
it was Taipei Swamp. That's what old timers call it. Taipei Swamp.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinances for first reading. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the public sale of Block 443, Lot 1 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, at open public sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 et sec.
Motion?
Yes. I'll move it.
Moved by Mayor. Second. Second by Manal, any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading public hearing on September 14, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 20 entitled Streets and Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood. This is the road opening ordinance.
A motion? Seeing none, dies for lack of a motion.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 2 entitled Administration of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Section 12-12.5, Tax Assessor.
Motion. Moved by Minaj.
Second.
Second by Mayor, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance of the, second reading public hearing on September 14, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, accepting the dedication of property known as Block 190, Lot 58.13.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mayor. Second. Half seconded by Minaj, second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Second reading
Yes.
public hearing on September 14, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, adopting the updated Township Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, and creating the Department of Human Resources.
I'll
Moved by
second.
Isaac, second by Mayor. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
I abstain based on the last part of the comment.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading public hearing on September 14, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the public sale of a portion of Block 11.12, Lot 62 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, at open public sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 et sec.
Motion. Moved by Minaj.
Second.
Second by Mayor. Any discussion? Now, this is the first reading. The second reading will be the public hearing. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading and public hearing on September 14, 2017.
Thanks, Katie. Can I have a motion on correspondence with margin of
Move it.
Moved by Mike. Second by Isaac. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to approve the bill list of August 29th.
So made.
Second.
Moved by Minaj, second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Any comments from committee members? Meeting's closed to the public. I'll talk to you right after the meeting.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor, not for me.
To the chair? 30 seconds or less. Last night I attended a meeting by the Board of Education. They presented their plaque to both you, Mr. Mayor, and to the township committee, whereas our assistants rendered to them for their sports program. The message they wanted us to hear about it later on unequivocally is the fact that we have the students in the sports program who's off the street and who are in trouble. So I'm presenting you this plaque, which was presented to me at the meeting, to give to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to point out, 'cause I know you're not allowed to, but a lot of the students that did not have any health insurance that required physicals to be able to play sports, ComEd up on Route 9 gave free physicals to all those students that were in need. So please pass our thanks along to Dr. Friedman and the staff up there. Mike?
Nothing.
Isaac? No, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So made.
Good night, everybody. Get home safe.